We are here for the purpose of recognizing some of our long-time, old-time members, and we thought this was an opportunity for us to get to know some of these members. Some of you may have known them for a long time, but I don't know whether everybody has known all of them for a long time. But we would like to, we do want to recognize some of our longtime members and listen to their advice, listen to their information, and record those people and their comments and discussion pertaining to Carnival Glass. We all have a lot of information that we can get from these members and their experience in collecting and their interest in collecting Carnival Glass. And we do appreciate their responding to this request and being here with us today. This is not one of testing their knowledge of patterns or shapes or things of that nature. It's listening to their experience and their knowledge of what they have enjoyed in the collection of their, putting together their collection of glass. And we have Jack Eleanor Hamilton, Matheny George Thomas, Bob Leonard, Bill Richards, and Harry Sherman with us here today. We couldn't get the wives up there. They said they didn't want to ruin the whole thing. So again, we're glad to have them with us today. And we would just like to start out with asking them to respond to maybe a question. The first question we would like for them to respond to would be, what has been your primary interest in your collection, whether it's a color, shape, pattern, or what is your primary interest in your collection? Jack and Eleanor.
Mine is whiskey bottles. I have trouble with her. I'm fortunate, but I got started in the collecting of the whiskey bottles. You're fairly cheap. And I've got all 5 sizes of the Golden Wedding. And they're kind of hard to come by, at least one of them. But I've enjoyed the friends and people. And the wife here, she's the collector. I'm one of the honeydews things.
No, my main part of the Carnival glass I have more of than anything else are small plates and miniatures. I started out like everybody else collecting bowls. It seems that you always see more bowls than any other. And I ran out of space very fast. So I went to the small plates and the miniatures, and I enjoyed them very much.
I like plates, any size plate, and a few bowls, and I think I own 6 maybe pitchers. That's about it. But plates are my true love. They can be rare, they can be common, as long as they're pretty. They have to be pretty. They can even be damaged, as long as they're pretty. But I have 2 walls, one with 110 pieces on it, another one with 99 pieces on it, and all plates and bowls. So it's got to be able to hang on the wall or it doesn't go home with them.
And I think everybody knows, but I collect those long, tall things called vases. Heavy and funeral vases. I have about 38 funeral vases, and heavy in the Northwood pattern of all vases. Yeah. How I got in vases, I guess mainly was because of Dale Matheny and Don Moore. Don would go to an auction and come back and say, George, here's a vase for your collection. Well, what do? You buy it, no matter what the price is. And then Dale made a mistake one time of coming back and buying me a pair of elephant foot marigold tree trunk vases, took both of them, and they're the best match pair of all of the elephant foot in the marigold. At the time, there were 4. Wheelbarrow had 2, and I had 2 that we knew of. And so we always said that we had an elephant over in Sacramento. But mine, he isn't here, so I can say it. Mine were better matched than his. Better color, too. But as everybody knows, I have a few bases.
Well, I started out in farm sales. I always run sales all my life. And I collected a number of different, I own an antique shop on top of everything else. You go to the farm sale, you see a piece of Carnival, you buy it. I accumulated about 1,250 pieces I buy it. If you buy a piece, take it home to wife, boys, what is the pattern? What is this? So we went from one thing to the other and found out there were books out on it, so we got the President book. We went from there, and then I met John Brett, and I met Mr. Loescher. And from there, intelligent, why I kept right on going, and my interest is peach opal. I have about 350 pieces of peach opal. I have about 75 little plates. So, but we built a new house. I've been a retired contractor. And my wife knew her last house plan. She won for herself. So we built a house, a 3-bedroom house. I took the 3rd bedroom. It has china cabinets in it. It has picture mold all the way around the wall shelf. It has plates all the way around there. All the way around the room is done with plates hanging on the wall under and over it. Our kitchen is an open soffit, and it has plates all the way around the soffit. And that's primary my interest is peach opal.
We started in about 1971, late 1972, by buying a piece in Florida. Didn't know what I was, came back, and there was an ad in the paper, and Carnival Glass went out and started buying them. The local antique shop had a card in it for Joe Carruthers. And so we called Joe and Faye, made an appointment, went down. Of course, I was dumb. The first thing I come in the door, I'd never seen a farmyard bowl, and I said to Joe, do you have a farmyard bowl? Well, he said, maybe we'll find one later on. Well, I guess we passed the test, because later on we brought one out, and we bought a lot of glass from Joe and Faye. They've been good friends of ours. We started mainly with bowls and table sets, and I think we got over 50 tables, 4-piece table sets. And then we went up, got 350 tumblers and some plates, and then we went to miniatures. We tried to save some space and fit it in the little niches here and there. Here's the little thing. We came out here in 1974 for the HOACGA convention. Don Moore was the speaker, and every time Don and Connie came by our room, they stopped and had some cookies. Well, before the banquet on Saturday, Don came by and he said, I have 3 butter dishes and a cheese. I'm going to use them in my talk, but he said, I don't have room to take them home. Are you interested in buying them? So we made a deal. Well, during the banquet, when he got up to speak, he said, you know, I sold these to the Leonards, but after I sold them, they stopped giving me cookies. A short time later, I bought a tumbler from Don, and when I sent the check, I made a coupon. I put Don and Connie Moore, this is good for cookies the next time we meet. So the next time we met, sure enough, Don came in the room and he brought the coupon in, and we gave him some cookies. Also interesting, Bob and I was talking, I think yesterday, a few people know that Bob Grissom started the souvenir sales. In 1974, they came out with the photograph. We had a picture, and Bob, you had whimsies made, and you got panned at that meeting. I felt sorry for you at that meeting, because they really panned him for doing that, but look how many have jumped on the bandwagon. And we've always felt that if we sold our glass at a loss, we still were ahead for the friends and the fun we've had.
I'm not sure I can talk in front of an audience.
Can we hold a piece of glass up for you?
If you're looking at the bunch, yeah, I need somebody to block it. Harold and I got started about 1956, 1957. We've been collecting ever since. It's been a way of life for us. Probably our main concentration early in the years was on water sets. We've got over 100 water sets. Most of them all have 6 tumblers with them. We like the water sets. We like punch sets. I've got a large mug collection. She has her miniature collection. She also has her amber collection. We're very fortunate. We've got a 14-room house. The kids have all moved out. The dog and the cat are gone. So we can fill every room with glass. And not only Carnival glass, but we collect antiques of all kinds, country store advertising, custard glass, jukeboxes, music boxes, antique cars and trucks, a little bit of everything. It's been a way of life for us. When we first got interested in it, I was a car and motorcycle nut. I was a mechanic and a painter, body man. She wanted me to go to some people's house and see this Carnival glass, about 1957, and I said, oh, that's a sissy thing. Well, when I first met Harold Jameson, and any of you that ever met Harold know what I'm talking about, there's this big old boy with a 38 back here, chew a mail pouch over here, and a roll of $100 bills about that thick. And I learned real quick it wasn't no sissy thing. He told me one thing. He said, when you see it, buy it. Because if you go back for it, it probably ain't going to be there, and somebody else is going to have it. Next time I forget to pay more money for it. And we've kind of lived by that. But we've enjoyed collecting. Our son has followed right along with us. This is all Billy does for a living. Is auctioneer and buy and sell Carnival glass. And it drives his wife nuts sometimes that he don't have an 8-to-5 job. And his mother-in-law and father-in-law thought he was into drugs or something because he always had money, but he never went to work. Traveled all over the United States. So after 8 years, I think they finally got to know that he does make a living, and he makes a pretty good living at this. And we just love it. We love all the friends. We've got people here that we've known for many, many, many years. And I think that's what it's all about, is the friends, the fellowship. And I've noticed over as long as we've been at it, the people that come and just want to make money on it, they don't last very long. They don't have the love of the glass, and they get weeded out. Whereas some of us older people, some of you newer people, you've got a true love for the glass. You can tell that when you come into a room. Appreciate it.
Just hold on to this, Bill. Another question you could expound on is, what do you see as some of the greatest changes that have taken place, or the most important changes, or maybe some of the worst changes that have taken place in your years of experience of the Carnival collecting? Bill?
That's a tough one. Like I say, seeing people come and go and the different trends, for a while there, grape and cable was way, way down. When we first got into it, if it had an N in it, you bought it. Grape and cable was riding high at that time, and did for a good long time. We've seen water sets come and go. We've seen a decline in mugs, something terrible. And I know Bob collects mugs, and I'm sitting on a whole bunch of them. And I got a lot of money in. And the last couple of times out, mugs have been low. But I think it cycles, and then comes back. Miniatures at one time was just fantastic. Now they're getting a little bit soft again. So I hate to say that, Carl, but you and I both know it. That's good. We can buy it. It's good in a way. That's exactly right. And what you want to do is take advantage when that cycle hits the low part. That's when you want to buy. Of course, it don't always work that way because you can't always find it. But I think that's probably the biggest change, is just the way the glass revolves year after year after year. Some things like plates have never really come down. Wiley Addis started with plates about 1959, 1960, and as far as I can tell, plates have ridden high ever since. I don't think they've ever come down. And the better the color, like Dale said down there, the better the color, the better the plate, even a little bit of damage. And this damage thing is something that Tom has talked about many, many times. But there's certain things that we have to accept with damage. I know Frank wouldn't have the things in the museum if he didn't have some things with a little bit of damage. Right, Frank? That little piece I got up in my room that was found in the Ohio River after all these years. And Frank looked at it and told a good story about it. The story's probably worth more than what the piece is, you know. But the story is fantastic. If you get a chance, I'm up in 317. It's in the window. It's going to be sold at Lincoln Land. It's the Orange Tree Orchard base, water pitcher / vase. It doesn't have a spout. It's got 2 handles on it. Made into a vase, and it was found in the Ohio River after being in there about 40 years. And it's only got one little line, maybe 1/8 of an inch, that we're not even sure it wasn't there in the making. And I'm sure Frank looked at it and kind of thought the same thing. But that's about all I've got to say on that.
I don't know, the price never seems high until I start to bid on it. And it's kind of, everybody wants it. We try to pick up odd-shaped pieces and that sort of thing. One thing that's a little troubling, I guess, we have all the table sets, and Chuck, you have, Bob, you have. The prices are not there at the present time. We wince when, unless it's Millersburg or a real rare piece, the prices really are not there for table sets or table pieces. But maybe they'll come back. Well, we've seen all, as Bill said, we've seen all the price changes of a lot of different things, but some things just keep going up. Unfortunately, there's $20 bowls that were $20 20 years ago, and they're still $20 bowls, and 20 years from now they probably won't change, but the rarities are getting priced out of the range of a lot of people.
Well, I think probably they said about the many changes that we've had already on it. My thing is your dollars of your pieces have gone one way or the other, skyrocketed or down. But I think that if I listened to my wife about 25 years ago, when she said buy aqua opal, I said, well, aqua opal is selling for $200, $300. I can buy peach opal for half that. So that's why I've got that many peach opal and don't have very many aqua opal. So, but anyway, I've enjoyed it all the way, and I started back in the late 50s and early 60s buying. So, but the friends we meet with Carnival people, I don't care who they are or where they are, they always got a high. They always know you. You can leave a room. Well, if they want a piece of glass, they'll tell you, they'll pay you money. They're the most honest bunch of people I've ever dealt with. And I've dealt with a lot of people in my lifetime. So, thank you.
Mike can talk after that. But anyway, I created prices going up because people keep breaking them. So, and I see nothing not going down as far as the price is concerned. And I agree with everybody. The people in Carnival Glass from all walks of life are the most beautiful people I've ever met. And really great friends.
You know, I've said this many times, I don't know of any group of people that have a commonality, such as we have in glass, that can compete so strongly with one another and remain steadfast friends. And that, I think, probably is the greatest point to make in our collecting of Carnival Glass is our relationships with one another. The thing that I have witnessed, though, that I really don't like is the fact that I feel that so many younger, less affluent collectors are slowly being squeezed out because we make such a fuss about the rarities and the valuable glass, and we do not publicize the fact that there are this lovely cheap glass. Not cheap, but inexpensive. Don Moore used to always say common, and his wife Connie used to say, don't ever say common, say available. But there is so much available glass that is available for these younger people, but they're just not encouraged to enjoy it. We all say, well, you have to have red, you have to have peach opal or aqua opal. That's not true. A piece of marigold that costs $50 can be a wonderful piece of glass that anyone can enjoy. And I wish we could get back to encouraging younger people to start at that level and learn as they go along. I don't see any end to this. If you stop and think that this glass was made during a very short period of time, and there was not too much of it made, and there is a lot of us collecting. There's been a lot of glass break, and there's more and more of us collecting all the time as the population increases. So this glass is a finite product that can only go up in value. Even the common pieces eventually will become valuable. Eventually. We're only a short time away from 100 years. And once that happens, that's the magic number. So I reiterate, I wish we could somehow through our clubs encourage younger people in their effort to accumulate a small, less expensive collection. Maybe setting it out as a prize for the best display of available glass. We did that in Northern California one year.
When I first started collecting in 1964, off my first piece, it was Carnival. Color didn't make too much difference. If it was sitting on a shelf, you saw it, you didn't have it in your collection, you wanted it, you bought it. The last few years especially, we have become so aware of better iridescence and good color. So if you can afford it, it will be a little higher, but in the long run, I think it'll pay off. But buy what you can afford. Jody Mitchell was one of the organizers of our Texas Carnival Glass Club. And at one of our first meetings there was some very expensive glass then. This was back 1979, 1980. And Jack was working for Southwestern Bell Telephone Company. His first paycheck was $40 a week. We couldn't afford a lot of the glass. But Jody told me, she said, you don't need the expensive glass to enjoy it. Buy what you can afford and enjoy it.
I just was wondering, how many are here for the first time? All right, let's all take notice of those and either shake their hand or make a point to speak to them, because there is your future people in the Carnival, right? And we were all new at one time. And it's a funny feeling when you walk into a place the first time, you look around and think, my gosh, what am I doing here? But if you have this one person that will stick out your hand and say, I'm so-and-so, glad to see you, it will make a lot of difference, and odds are you'll keep those people with you.
Thank you. The next thing we'd like for you to comment about is, what do you see as the future of Carnival glass collecting, the Carnival glass collecting hobby, and what needs to be changed to continue to assure that Carnival glass remains a good collectible in the future?
I don't really know, because to be honest, I'm not the real Carnival glass collector. I collect the people because I enjoy them. But I think a lot of it has got to get back to the education on some of the stuff. A lot of people just say, oh, it's Carnival glass. But you've got to know what you're doing.
I think the clubs are very, very important, and we need to keep them going. That's where we make our friends. That's where we learn about the glass. We learn about the books that are available. And we very definitely need to keep them going. So I think it's important that these clubs, all of us all over the country, need to work together to do our promotions and to keep our clubs going.
Well, I think I pretty well answered this question in my last answer. but would Eleanor that the clubs are important and participation in the clubs. The clubs are hurting an awful lot for leadership. No one seems to want to do any work. And I think probably there's got to be more of us, and I'm one of them, that needs to become more involved in club work if we want to continue the clubs. And the clubs have to they keep our interest up. This once a year business back to a convention is great. If you have a club, you can go to every quarter. So keep it up.
Our quarterly meetings in Northern California, the last year or two, I have been very active in it. They wore me out 3 years before, so that's the reason. And then maybe due to other things that I was doing that I shouldn't have been. Anyway, our club was very active, and we used to draw from 60 to 70 every quarterly meeting, which we thought was very good for our club. And of course, we had Don Moore, which was the greatest thing that any one club could have. And because he encouraged people, and his idea was to teach people. And he had a lot of participation from the floor when Don was around. And his show and tell was, we always had 2 programs. We had a regular program, we had a Don Moore show and tell program, which was just another exciting one. But we need to have, as everybody said, get these young people interested and keep them interested. And Dale brought up that years ago we had a displays of inexpensive class. I'm trying to find that word. And I had a display and used the Edwards book of everything sold in his book, or price of his book under $100, but it was all in color. And it was a nice display. And that's all you need. We had one display of everything under 25 cents that or $25 that they had bought, and from a very young couple, and a beautiful display. But then we got to go back that other way a little bit to encourage the young ones.
Well, I don't know what I can say that hasn't already been said, because it is your club to keep going. But my point of clubs is the clubs I belong to are too far away from us to get to on a quarterly meeting. Whether more local clubs could be organized to thrive, I do not know. But I belong here, I belong to Lincoln Land, I belong to International, I did belong to America. But they're all, I belong to Camp Fay at one time. At that time we were going to Florida, and we took that week Camp Fay's convention to go to Florida. But since then, why I retired, and so I can't go anymore since I retired. No, it's other activity, and the fact that I had another moon or two on up at about 75, so I'm not quite as active as I had been.
Because one of the things that bothers us is the damage on glass. When we started 20-some years ago, we didn't look at some of the chips like you call them today. And damage is damage, but some of the little bitty pieces on it we're calling maybe too much. And it was a lot simpler when we didn't have 14 shades of blue. Somebody that's not too color conscious in the first place, 14 shades of blue, it makes a lot of difference in dollars between the 2 colors on any of it. If you don't know exactly, and the seller may not really know the true color either. You really got to be on your toes. So it's a little hard to distinguish sometimes, so you don't pay too much.
Well, there again, it's all in the eyes of the beholder, and I think Bob just said something right there that maybe we're getting too educated. Is that possible? Yeah. It is possible, and it can be dangerous. I go along with Dale about getting the young people in. And I think what we have to do, we do a lot of sales for different people, and they say, well, our children aren't interested. Our grandchildren aren't interested. The sale we just had, the gallows sale, it kind of hurts you to see 2 more generations as big as what Bob and Dottie were in Carnival Glass, to see 2 more generations not interested in their grandfather and grandmother's heritage. And it bothers me when I go into a home and the kids say, I just want to get rid of it. I never liked it. I'm fortunate, I guess. I've got 3 daughters. They all grew up with it. They all love it. All 3 of my son-in-laws love it. Of course, Billy, he likes it. My daughter-in-law, she's not too, she likes brocade, not fan, other things. But she's still interested in collecting. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to instill in our children. We never put anything up in our house. Everything was always out. The kids busted 1 piece, a little sauce. Carol busted 1 piece, a water pitcher. But it was there to look at. We lived with it. We didn't tell them they couldn't go near it. Billy used to stand in front of the china closets and name the patterns and this and that. And I think really we have a responsibility there to our children and our grandchildren, because it is a heritage. And it's something that they can carry on, and maybe that way we can get more young people interested in it. Because that's where it's all at. And like Dale said, don't try to get these people to start out spending a lot of money. Because I don't care who you are and how much money you have, you don't want to jump into something and start on the top. It scares you. And especially if the market's a little bit soft, they say, well, I just paid $10,000 for that piece. What if I have to sell it? I might not be able to get my money. Let them start low, and then weed out their collection, and then get into after they like it for a while, let them get the fever. And I think that's what we have to do.
Yes, Michael. Thank you for your response. I have one other question, but I think they've pretty well reviewed the question. The question was, what do you see as the benefit of being a member of the various clubs? And I think they have all kind of touched on the club activity and the club membership and the importance there. One question, last question I'd like to, if they could comment, is your most memorable experience in your time collecting carnivals.
Okay. I got a bunch of them. You'll hear more of them when we do our talk there Saturday night. But one particular, I've had dentures ever since 1959, I think it was. And we went to a convention in Washington, D.C., 1967, HOACGA. And Rose Presnick was there, and she was talking about this farmyard bowl. Busy chickens, we used to call them back then. Well, I didn't have a busy chickens, and I wanted one. Called it Paw and the Girls. And Rose said that before this year was out, that bowl was going to be worth like $800. Well, that was a lot of money, especially when you're raising 4 children. On the way back, I told Byron Reinhardt, I said, I'm going to find a busy chicken bowl. Well, everybody kind of laughed at me. So we went to Wishards and had a picnic, which was very enjoyable. If you ever seen the Wishard collection, it was fantastic. This was before the fire. And on the way back, we stopped in Punxsutawney, PA, and got to talking to an old-time collector there by the name of Thelma Legalon. A lot of you will remember her. Joe Carruthers used to be there once a week, I think. He found out about it. I thought I was the only person that knew her, but Joe found out, and his money was bigger than mine, so he got a lot more stuff. But anyhow, she said, well, I know a lady by the name of Mrs. Smith. Now, she's real funny, but she's got a farmyard bowl, and she'll sell it to you. But I got to call her first. So she called, and she told me how to get there. Now, she said, you can't miss it, because it's right on Route 36, and there's a big caboose out front. Well, that's kind of funny to have in your front yard, a caboose. But sure enough, there was a caboose there. Mrs. Smith lived alone in a house that you couldn't get in. There was just enough track for her to get through the boxes. She come out on the stoop, on the back stoop, and she had this farmyard bowl, and I seen it. And I went to reach for it, and my bottom plate come right up, and I went like this, threw my plate on the ground over the grass and grabbed the farmyard.
Bill, there's no way I can top that. In 1974, we put in a farm plot about a half acre behind our house, and it's done like yard and Carnival Glass. We went to a game breeder in up near Flint, and with different places we saw 3 different kinds of swans, all in the same area getting along. So we bought a pair of white-muted swans and put them out there, and then a pair of southern Australian black swans. And then we paid $900 for a pair of South American black swans, put them all in the same area. Well, we used to, of course, talk back and forth with John, Levita, Woody, and they always asked how the swans were. Well, the first thing we knew, the white-muted swan did nest, and they were bigger, and they were going to kill the other swans, so we had to pen them off. Well, there's no way I'm going to have 10 birds on a pond. So John had an auction, and he had a white Reese cherry butter dish picture, and we had the other 3 pieces. So I called, talked to Levita, and told her what I paid. She said, well, how are the swans? I said, well, not too well. We got to get rid of the white mutes. So she said, well, what do you want for them? And I put a price on them. Well, shortly after the auction, we talked to John. He said, well, you got your butter dish, but you owe me a pair of white mute swans. So I had to go and build a crate and fix it up. We had to catch them now, like 1.5 acre pond. I called a friend, and we came out. We took a canoe, and that didn't work. So we had to get a boat with a motor to get them off the pond so I could pick them up. And, well, I put them in the box, and I had to call John, and I shipped them out there. Well, interesting enough, John at that time had several ponds on his ranch here in Kansas. He was feeding channel catfish commercially. He told me afterwards, he said, those swans don't owe me anything because they kept the egrets out from coming in and eating the little fingerling fish. And also the swans got used to the kids coming home from school. They evidently fed them when they came home. And we got near time for the school bus to come. The swans would start towards the house, and the kids would go out and feed them. So it's kind of interesting. I got my butter dish and got rid of a pair of swans.
Where to start at. Several years ago, when we, in the, probably the early 70s, we were buying Carnival Glass, and in the paper was advertising Carnival Glass for sale. So we found the party that had Carnival Glass, and they had been sitting around all over here. They had got shipment from England. This guy, they were tired of it. They was using for ice trays all over the place. So they took me over and showed me and had it all piled up. And they had about 100 and, I don't know, a little over 100 pieces. I said, what do you want for it? Well, he said, I'd like to have $25 a piece for it. Whew! $25 a piece, 100 people. Whew! I said, no, I can't fetch that. He said, well, make me an offer. I said, I'll give you $15 a piece and take it off. You bought it.
I don't have anything funny to talk about in comparison to what they have. May have been my second auction. First auction I went to, Don's, wanted to know why I kept sitting on my hands, and I said, well, I was afraid to move, afraid to buy something. The second auction I went to, I bought a marigold pickle jar vase. I don't know what the heck, golden flowers. Just tickle it out, I bought a vase, you know, for, I don't know, maybe $15 or $20, and that was a lot of money to me then, but, you know, that was entertainment as far as I was concerned. When we started buying Carnival Glass, that was entertainment money and never be. Anyway, Don said to me, sitting next to him, he said, George, I'm very fortunate that I've never had one of those in my collection. charge you anything, I'll get more for it when I sell it. Well, I tried to sell that thing for 5 years, I bet, before I finally found somebody to buy that pickle trimmer.
Now, I stood up here and I preached long about encouraging young people to buy inexpensive glass and start their collections. One of really the great impact on me occurred about, I don't know whether it was in 1979 or 1980 perhaps, but it was at HOACGA. And there was, at the auction, there was a corn husk vase for sale. And it came up for sale, and one person stood up and said, $5,000. My boy. I never knew that a piece of glass could cost so much. And one bid is all it took. And he got up and flew out, left. So that was the great impact, early impact on me. He's done crazier things since.
When I got home, the season gave me a urine test.
Story to tell, but I have kind of a romantic story to tell. In my early collecting, one of the shops there in Waco, I found an amethyst raspberry water set, and it was, I thought it was the prettiest water set I had ever seen. So I came home, was telling Jack about it. She wanted $40 for it. The picture and 6 tumblers. And I was all excited, and I came home and told Jack about it. He said, honey, we just can't afford that, but I'm sorry, so you're just going to have to miss out on that. Of course, I was very, very disappointed. So I'd go into town once or twice a week, and I'd have to drive by that shop and take a look at that water set, see if it was still there. A couple of times I went by there, and it was. The third time I drove by, the water set was gone. Oh, well, somebody else got my water set. So our anniversary was coming up in a few weeks, and I always got up for 38 years and fixed my husband breakfast before he went to work. So one morning I was there in bed, and I heard commotion in the kitchen. I was, I wonder what he's doing up. So I went in there in my gown, and there sat my water set.
One, I got in trouble with that too. You know, one thing, we knew the dealer that had the antique store. I worked with him in the telephone company. Now, one thing that I remember, we were coming back from one of the meetings, and we came to Muskogee, Oklahoma, and we spent the night there and was looking at one or two of the places there. And they told us there was a little auction at a private place down there, so we went down there. And I collected Vaseline, or did then, and there was about 3 or 4 pieces of glass there. We finally talked to the auctioneer into going ahead and put it in. It was one of these that, well, I'll run this. There was no farm or whatnot. So we decided, well, we was going to leave. So he saw us, and so he reached and grabbed this glass. And 2 of the pieces we knew was Vaseline. And another one, well, I bought it because I wanted to cut up some of them, you know, I make jewelry. So I'd take different pieces and make jewelry out of it. So we got home, was cleaned up, and had the black light. We were going all over the glass. And of course, me and I was popping off. I said, well, look what I've got, a piece of Vaseline. Not dreaming the least bit that it was. We turned that light on, and she said, you're not cutting that up. And I've still got it.
Anyone in the audience have any questions they would like to ask our panel.
Thank you.
Yes.
I wonder if George remembers where he sold that little pickle face. I might be interested.
I think I sold it to non-Carnival first. I don't have to,
Name and address?
but it was the deli, I'll tell you. I have to, George Loescher, you know, there's the comedian of the world, in the Carnival Glass world. We're very fortunate to have him around still.
Yes.
I'd like to know how they identified their glass back then. I don't think they had books that we have today, nor the clubs.
Same books.
Same book.
Same books. Marion Harttown's 10 books is what we used.
We collected for 5 years before we found out there was a club. And I had all of this, you know, we'd go in and here would be a bunch of stuff and we'd see how many pieces we could buy. That we bought patterns and shapes when we didn't care whether they had date or not, because we didn't. So we'd see how many of these $20 pieces we could get, or, you know, a certain amount, and see if we could outdo each other. And then we'd go home and go through those very hard times. Well, I have a story I want to tell. We were down in San Francisco. The reception's better on here. When we first started collecting Carnival glass, Dale and I went down to the waterfront one time and went into a antique store that carried great big heavy furniture, and it had Carnival glass pieces sitting around on this heavy furniture. Everything was $27.50. And so we went through this, and of course we couldn't afford too many 27.50s. And not this 27.50, but there were 2 marigold bowls exactly the same. And you could take your, you know, do that, and it was ear-dodged. But we didn't know the patterns. So we left for $27.50, and then we went to an antique show, went home and started going through the Marion Harttown books. Found out that they were roadshow bowls in Maryland for $27.50, and that shows you how, you know, we were really smart at the time. Anyway, Dale went the next morning, Monday morning, and got those 2 $27.50, and he still has one on the wall. The other one he sold.
Any other? Yes.
Past the year.
George wants to know if you passed the urine test.
Nobody will never know because she beat most of it out of me before we got to the lab.
Any other questions? Floyd or the... Yes, sir.
Is there any one piece of glass that you've had in your hands through your life that you wish you could get rather than sold?
Repeat the question, please. Repeat the question.
Is there any one piece of glass that you've had in your hands throughout your life that you wish you had kept rather than sold?
Any one piece of glass you had at one time that you disposed of, you'd like to have it back?
I think we've all experienced that. reasons why I'm here is because there's a piece coming up in the sale that was mine. My family gets their heart straight and lends me some money, maybe I can buy it. She ain't doing too good down at the casino. The first night she did pretty good. Last night she kind of lost it.
Yes.
Bob, I've been collecting Carnival for about 13 years, and just in that time, I've seen it get harder and harder to find. And I suppose it's due to the increased number of collectors, but I'm wondering too, some of the places I go to, I hear people saying that they're selling it on the internet, you know, and maybe they're not putting it in their shops or in the malls and so forth. And, you know, I wonder, you know, how much of an impact that's having. And also, you know, you hear people saying they buy glass on the internet, selling it on the internet. What's the upside and the downside of doing that? People are doing it.
The internet's a lot of them. I couldn't answer.
Dale, George, do you have any comments?
Well, the downside is you don't know the person that you're buying the glass from, by and large. Now, there are some reputable dealers on the internet. Tom Bernini sells quite a bit of glass on the internet, but there's a lot of people that you don't know, so you're taking a chance in buying. Sometimes, and then the photographs on the internet are enhanced quite often, so you aren't sure that what you're seeing is what you're going to get when you get it home. Other times, now Marie Katz just had a wonderful experience. She bought a piece that was ugly on the internet. When she got it home and cleaned it up, it turned out to be beautiful. So it can go both ways. I still like to buy glass. I want to feel it. I want to look at it and have it in my hand before I agree to buy it. It's not that I don't trust these people. It's just that I'm the eternal cynic. I think it's going to have a great impact on buying and selling of Carnival glass. In fact, I think perhaps the internet may have been doing more for the more available glass than it is for the rarity. There's an awful lot of more available glass moving through the internet than it ever did through auctions or through private sales.
Yes.
The president of our Michigan club told us at the last meeting, he sold a fairly valuable Rose Bowl on the internet. The buyer called him and said, I want to send it back. So he said, all right, I'll send you your money. But what he got back was the same pattern, but not the same Rose Bowl. So he was out of money. He lost quite a bit of money on that transaction because he did not get the same one back.
Billy has bought two pieces. He was very dissatisfied with both of them. They were not what he was told they were. He was lucky enough that he sold them for what he paid for them. Somebody just told me last night, and I forget who it was, but they shared with me that they bought a piece that was rather expensive, and the people will not take it back. And it's definitely not what they said it was. So the only thing you can do in that course is just blackball them somehow. I can see good things on the internet, but I can see a lot of bad things.
Also on the internet, there is a place that you can judge or put values on who you have bought from and how good it was. And on every piece that person has ever sold, or there is a place, or how people paid for it, if they're, you know, don't have to worry about receiving a check or what have you. But you can build up a reputation as a good reputation. And the people that are bad, they should be put on there as the bad people too. So there is that.
I like that video. Do y'all feel like there's a tendency maybe just a slight move to getting to reserves or auctions?
Oh, definitely.
Do you think we'll get there in a period of time before the whole auction?
Oh, you mean on auctions?
Right.
You'll never see it with our auction service. You might with some of them. I think that's what the internet is doing. And I really think they're running the stuff up themselves to hit the minimum, and then somebody will just bid one bid over. And, you know, that's happening. But I don't think in my lifetime I will ever see it. We used to say if it's advertised with confirmation of owner, that is the only way around it legally. according to the national and the state organizations. But the auctioneer has to advertise it as confirmation of owner under law. If he doesn't, the general public can come back on him if they catch him running.
It's too late for you Saturday, Floyd.
Yeah. Jim and I already got a deal. I'm gonna raise my hand, he'll say sold.
Just remember, I paid $5,000 for that damn basis.
I also remember you paying $10,000 for the peach opalescent farmyard gold too.
I sure did.
And he pointed right at me. I said, right behind you. I said, hey,